Estes Park, Colorado, on Halloween felt like a scene plucked straight from a chilling novel. The majestic Rocky Mountains loomed, their peaks dusted with early snow, casting long, somber shadows over the valley. Yet, for many, the true heart of the season resided not in the crisp mountain air, but within the grand, spectral confines of the Stanley Hotel. This iconic hotel, a masterpiece of Edwardian elegance, was famous not just for its stunning views, but for its pervasive, often terrifying hauntings, famously inspiring Stephen King's The Shining. For Dr. Julian Vance, a celebrated but deeply cynical architectural preservationist, this Halloween was more than a professional visit. It was a personal crusade. He was leading a meticulously planned overnight restoration assessment, focusing on the notoriously active Room 217, convinced that the persistent reports of spectral activity were merely psychological projections, amplified by the hotel's isolation and its literary fame, rather than genuine paranormal manifestations. His objective: to uncover the structural anomalies or environmental factors that contributed to these hauntings, thereby definitively debunking the supernatural claims. Julian, whose keen eye for historical detail was matched only by his unwavering scientific skepticism, dismissed the countless anecdotes of phantom guests and disembodied voices as charming but ultimately unfounded superstitions. He believed every eerie sensation had a rational explanation: drafts, pipe noises, or the sheer power of expectation. His team consisted of two equally pragmatic but increasingly uneasy graduate students, Clara and Ben, who shared his academic rigor but less of his stoicism in the face of the hotel's chilling reputation. They arrived on the evening of October 31st, the mountain air sharp and carrying the earthy scent of pine, damp earth, and a faint metallic tang, like old plumbing and forgotten gas fumes. The Stanley Hotel's imposing white facade, with its grand columns and sprawling verandas, seemed to glower under the bruised purple and ominous orange twilight sky. A scattering of carved pumpkins, their glowing orange faces twisted into menacing grimaces, adorned the main entrance and grand staircase, a festive touch by the hotel's management. But their light seemed to pulsate with an unnerving, almost sentient intensity in the deepening gloom. Their designated study area was the infamous Room 217, the very room where Stephen King experienced his inspiration for The Shining. This room was the epicenter of the hotel's most extreme claims, famous for sudden temperature drops, moving objects, and the feeling of being touched by an unseen presence. Julian meticulously set up his specialized equipment: thermal cameras, highly sensitive microphones, seismic sensors, and electromagnetic field (EMF) detectors, hoping to capture any subtle environmental anomalies. A single battery-operated jack-o'-lantern, its orange LED flickering steadily, sat on a nearby antique nightstand, a practical light source among the sophisticated gadgets and a defiant symbol against the room's grim history. Hours passed. The initial data was frustratingly inconclusive. Microphones picked up nothing but the creaking of the old hotel and the distant howl of the wind. Thermal cameras registered no unusual heat signatures, and seismic sensors remained silent. Julian, his voice calm and analytical, began his video log, a hint of professional satisfaction in his tone. "As expected," he stated, adjusting his glasses, "Room 217, despite its notorious reputation, presents no evidence of genuine supernatural activity. The hotel's hauntings, in all likelihood, are fascinating psychological effects, a testament to its immersive design and literary fame." But as the clock's ancient chimes echoed midnight, marking the shift to All Hallows Day, a profound and undeniable shift occurred. The temperature in Room 217 plummeted so rapidly that Julian could see his breath. His thermal camera flared with an icy blue, confirming the inexplicable drop. Then, his EMF detector, previously dormant, screamed to life, its red lights flashing violently, registering a massive electromagnetic surge emanating from the antique wardrobe. A faint scratching sound, like long fingernails dragging on wood, began to emanate from inside the wardrobe. It wasn't loud, but it was insistent, rhythmic, growing in intensity. Julian froze, his scientific composure utterly shattered by a primal wave of fear. This was not a mechanical anomaly. This was intelligent. This was active. Is anyone here? Julian whispered, his voice tight with a fear he hadn't anticipated. The scratching stopped abruptly. A guttural moan, low and laden with profound agony, and ancient malevolence filled the room, echoing from all directions, as if coming from the very walls themselves. It was the sound of unspeakable suffering, centuries old. Then, from the wardrobe, the doors slowly creaked open, revealing absolute darkness within. From that darkness, a shimmering, translucent figure began to coalesce. It was indistinct at first, like swirling smoke, but slowly, horrifyingly, it began to take the shape of a woman. Her features were gaunt, her eyes hollow pits of despair, yet burning with an intense, pulsating orange light. Her body was clad in a tattered spectral chambermaid's uniform, and in her translucent hand she clutched a spectral, rusting key. Her presence radiated an overwhelming aura of ancient evil, frustrated rage, and predatory intent. This was not a residual haunting. This was an intelligent entity, a revenant. Elizabeth Wilson, a chambermaid who died in this room during a mysterious gas leak in 1911. Her spirit forever bound by a dark, forgotten pact. And she was here. Julian's academic detachment dissolved completely. This was real, terrifyingly, impossibly real. "Wilson," Julian stammered, clutching his recording device. "Elizabeth Wilson." The spectral chambermaid did not speak. Instead, a torrent of vivid, horrifying images flooded Julian's mind. 1911. Stanley Hotel, a time of grand openings and hidden dangers. He saw Elizabeth not as a mere chambermaid, but as a young woman caught in a terrifying conspiracy. She discovered a secret society, the Serpent's Coil, operating beneath the hotel, performing dark rituals to harness the potent energies of the Rocky Mountains, seeking to open a gateway to another dimension. The gas leak in room 217 was not an accident. It was a deliberate act, a ritualistic sacrifice to open a temporal rift, a thinning of the veil, specifically on Halloween, when the spiritual energies were at their peak. Elizabeth, a witness, was silenced, her spirit trapped, bound to the hotel, not as a victim, but as an unwitting guardian, a key to a powerful portal. The entity she served was not malevolent, but an ancient cosmic force that sought entry, using the hotel as its anchor. Elizabeth's rage was not directed at the hotel, but at those who trapped her, preventing her passage, forcing her to watch the endless attempts to open the rift. The pumpkins outside, Julian realized, were not just festive. They were unintended beacons, their orange glow mirroring Elizabeth's tormented eyes, drawing the entity's attention to the surface. The images clarified a horrifying truth. The Stanley Hotel was not just haunted, it was a cosmic anchor, a prison and a gateway. Elizabeth Wilson was merely a sentinel, her torment a byproduct of a much larger, ancient ritual. The parasitic entity, an ancient alien intelligence, was the true power behind the hotel's hauntings, bound to room 217, and on Halloween, its hunger for entry was at its apex, demanding not just a human soul, but a complete forfeiture of reality, a tearing of the fabric of existence to become its permanent conduit. And Julian's meticulous, analytical mind, which had intruded so deeply into its domain, made him the perfect vessel for its eternal passage. Room 217 grew colder, thicker with unseen presences. Julian felt phantom hands, bony and icy, pulling at his clothes, tearing at his skin. Clara and Ben huddled together, whimpering. The EMF detector screamed, its red lights a blinding, ceaseless red. The whispers, a cacophony of ancient cosmic chants and guttural demands for passage, filled his mind. Open, open, break the veil, release us, eternal cosmos. The spectral Elizabeth glided closer, her hollow orange eyes fixed on Julian. Her translucent hand, clutching the spectral key, reached out not for his throat, but for his mind, seeking to transfer the unending burden of her frustrated rage and the entity's cosmic grasp. Open the gate, her silent voice echoed in Julian's thoughts. End my vigil, release the coil. Julian, caught between terror and a sudden, profound understanding, fought against the mental intrusion. He recalled an obscure passage from an old Estes Park indigenous folklore book, dismissed as a meaningless fragment, a symbol of the mountain seal, an ancient Ute glyph that, if invoked with genuine courage and a pure intention to protect the sanctity of the land, could temporarily disrupt the cosmic entity's hold on its anchor, forcing it to retreat to its dimension. The glyph, a stylized mountain peak surrounded by protective eagle feathers, was believed to be effective only on Samhain, when the veil was thinnest, and if dedicated to an act of genuine respect for the natural order and defiance against overwhelming cosmic evil. With a desperate surge of adrenaline, Julian broke free from the mental hold. "No," he gasped, forcing the word out, his voice echoing through the room. "I will not open the gate. I will not release the coil." He began frantically drawing the mountain seal glyph on the dusty wooden floor with his finger, recalling every detail from the folklore book. Clara, despite her terror, saw his desperate effort and, remembering a similar diagram from a geological survey map of the area, instinctively helped him complete the intricate pattern. Ben, though still trembling, focused the portable spotlight on the glyph, amplifying its presence. The phantom hand still tugged, but less with malevolence, more with a desperate, pleading urgency for completion of the ritual. As the glyph was completed, it pulsed with a faint, shimmering golden light, starkly contrasting with the dominant orange. The spectral Elizabeth roared, a sound of ancient fury, her form flickering violently. The orange glow in her eyes wavered, replaced by a momentary flash of frustration, then pure, unadulterated hatred. Elizabeth lunged, but as she crossed the boundary of the glowing glyph, her form distorted, shimmering violently, as if struggling against an invisible barrier. The ancient cosmic chants and whispers ceased abruptly. The surrounding shadowy figures, the remnants of the serpent's coil's influence, recoiled, their orange glows dimming to nothing. Julian, seizing the moment, remembered another detail from the folklore. The entity's ultimate weakness was exposure to raw, untamed mountain air and the sounds of pure, human joy. Sounds that mirrored the balance of the natural world, not the cosmic discord it preferred. He looked at his small LED-lit pumpkin, still flickering on the nightstand. It was a simple, harmless object, but now it felt like a conduit for a different kind of power. With a desperate prayer for the natural order, Julian grabbed the pumpkin. "This is not your gateway, entity," he screamed, his voice ringing with defiance. "This is the heart of the mountains, the sound of human spirit." He hurled the glowing pumpkin towards Elizabeth. The pumpkin struck the spectral form, not with force, but with a sudden, blinding burst of pure golden light, accompanied by the ethereal, soaring sound of a joyful mountain song. Elizabeth convulsed violently, letting out a final ear-splitting shriek that tore through the hotel. A sound of ancient pain and absolute defeat. Her terrifying form dissolved into shimmering golden particles that drifted upwards through the ancient stone ceiling, ascending into an unseen, ethereal light, finally banished from the physical realm. Room 217 returned to its chilling stillness, but the oppressive malevolence was gone. The EMF detector fell silent, the temperature normalized. The pervasive scent of decay vanished, replaced by a faint, clean smell of pine and crisp mountain air. Emerging from the Stanley Hotel at dawn, Julian Vance was a changed man. His architectural logic was utterly shattered, replaced by a profound conviction in the existence of something far older and more terrifying than structural anomalies. His preservationist quest had led him to a spiritual confrontation and, unexpectedly, to a victory over an ancient cosmic malevolence. He never again sought to simply record. He sought to understand, to respect, and to protect. His video log, initially a quest for scientific debunking, became a testament to a genuine encounter with the supernatural, watched by thousands. He never returned to purely debunking haunted locations. Instead, working with Clara and Ben, and with the support of the hotel's historical trust, he used his platform to advocate for the respectful preservation of such sites. Recognizing their potent living history, he published The Mountain Seal, Room 217, and The Cosmic Anchor, detailing not just the historical context of the hotel, but his terrifying encounter, the true nature of the entity, and the ritual that bound it. From that Halloween forward, the grim legends of the Stanley Hotel began to shift. Fewer aggressive hauntings were reported. Visitors spoke of a palpable sense of peace in Room 217, a subtle presence, but no longer one of malevolence. The entity was banished. Elizabeth's spirit finally found its release. And Dr. Julian Vance, the once cynical architectural preservationist, became an unlikely guardian of Colorado's spectral history, ensuring that on every Halloween, the chilling tale of the Stanley Hotel was remembered, not as a mere historical curiosity, but as a poignant narrative of ancient evil confronted and finally a hard-won peace. The jack-o'-lantern outside the Stanley Hotel became a permanent fixture, always lit, a silent vigil against the shadows. Its orange glow a beacon of hope for the whispering pines and the tormented souls within.